Hello and welcome to Social Media for Humans, the podcast that empowers you to do social differently. Your host, Alexis Bushnell, and her guests discuss their experience of social media as business owners, users, and ultimately humans, with insights and advice to help you find an effective and ethical strategy that works for you. Grab yourself a drink and join the conversation.
Hello. I am here with fabulous Sarah. Do introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
I'm Sarah Townsend. I've been a freelance marketing copywriter for 22 years. And that means I help businesses to communicate clearly about what it is they do and what makes them special, what makes them stand out, etc. And at the start of last year, I published a book, Survival Skills for Freelancers, which is a guide to self-employment written in a very heart on your sleeve, very kind of tell it like it is, chat with a friend type, supportive, reassuring kind of tone. And yes, kind of turn my life upside down a little bit.
Okay, so my first question then really is, what inspired you to write the book?
I got to the stage where I felt like for the first sort of 10 years of working for myself, I was really rubbish at running my own business, because I think I just thought, oh, being a freelancer, that means you get to work where you like, when you like, and how you like. You get to be the boss, which I love because I'm a control freak perfectionist. And you get to make all the decisions. And actually, quite quickly, you realize that that's not the case at all. So it's really easy to jump off the treadmill of employment and kind of find yourself with lots and lots of mini bosses instead of one main boss, and they're all dictating the way you work. And that's not the path to success. The path to success involves saying no quite a lot, realizing what you will and won't do, getting super clear on value that you bring to the table, and really learning to set solid boundaries and achieve a better work-life balance, because freelance life is supposed to be fun as well as rewarding. And when you're letting you let your clients become your bosses and stipulate the hours you work and the rates they pay, etc., it's not fun. So yeah, I just thought, okay, it's time for me to sort of give something back to the freelance community. It's been good to me all these years. And when I very first started out as a freelancer, I was like a 20-something-year-old woman, and I left my job because I got pregnant with my daughter, who's now 22. And when I first started, I couldn't find any books that actually spoke to me as a 20-something-year-old woman trying to start a business. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to create that book that I wish I'd had when I first started out, or even 10 years down the line, frankly.
Yeah. That's really nice, because it is so true. And I am still in that place where I am like trying to find that balance and practicing saying no, because it's a whole other skill. Like being freelance, managing your clients and managing the business side of stuff is a whole separate thing. And I think it's so common for people to be like, I'm going to go freelance. I need the space or the time. I can't work at 9 to 5 for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I'm good at what I do, so it's going to be fine. But actually, there's a whole heap of other stuff that you have to suddenly become good at.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what catches people out, isn't it? We have this dream of the freedom and the flexibility of freelance life, and we think, okay, well, I've got this special skill that I want to share with the world. I want to make money doing the thing I love. That's kind of what it boils down to, isn't it? And then it's really common to actually get to the end of your first week and go, yeah, hang on, I thought I was going to be spending my day editing or designing or illustrating or whatever the heck it is. But actually, I've only spent maybe 40, 50, 60% of my time doing that. And all this other time is spent finding the clients, marketing the business, doing your invoices, chasing your payments, doing proposals, all that stuff that we really don't enjoy doing, like even fixing your computer. And, we're not experts at those things, are we? So when you're spending a lot of time doing the stuff that A, you don't enjoy, B, you're not good at, and C, that doesn't make you money, ideally you want to ship out as much of that stuff as you possibly can so you can have a freelance life that's a lot more fun and fulfilling.
Yeah. And it is that, because there are just so many different skills. And it is all the stuff that you don't think about. And that tends to be the thing that when in the freelance groups on Facebook and everywhere, that tends to be the thing that people are like, I can't do this because I'm not an accountant and I'm not a PR expert and I can't do marketing and I'm not this, that, and the other. And it's so sad because there is so much support out there that is available as well. Did you find then, because you said you wanted to give back to the freelance community, did you find that you found a lot of like support and advice and sort of guidance generally in the earlier days from other?
Frankly, no, not at all. And the reason being that when I first started out, this was 1999, so there was no social media. There were no support groups. There was no being freelance or freelance heroes or whatever it is you go onto on Facebook or Slack or whatever. None of these groups existed. So I very much felt that I had gone from this busy, buzzy agency environment that I loved, loads of chat, loads of banter. And then suddenly I was stuck in this office at the top of my house with nobody but the cat for company. And it drove me up the wall. I found it so difficult. I found it so isolating. And really, I only found a lot of the communities when I was in the process of writing the book, because for me, the community is really key to freelance success and self-employed success in general. So it's all about kind of leaning into that community, finding the community first of all, and then kind of leaning into it, but also giving generously. So not joining these groups with the aim of, oh, you know, what can I get? How much can I kind of shout about my business and get clients? That's not what it's all about. It's all about putting yourself out there, being generous, supportive, kind, warm, friendly, welcoming, approachable, all those good things. And when you can do all those good things and you can kind of gradually like build up your value as someone who people want to work with and someone who's great at their job, kind of almost as a side issue, isn't it? Because first and foremost, I always say people don't choose to work with you because you're the best at what you do. They actually choose to work with you because they like you. You make the process of working on whatever project easy for them. You've got their back, support them, you know, you make the process fun and enjoyable. And we all get a lot more out of life when we can make work enjoyable. So yeah, it was really about, the first chapter is all about going solo doesn't mean going it alone, because struggling with that isolation, most especially during the recent months, like when even if you weren't self-employed, you were in a lot of cases stuck working from home on your own, no experience of working from home, no experience of how to stay focused and productive and to avoid distractions and all this sort of thing. So for me, it was about wanting to stress that throughout the first chapter, but not just that, but to build in the importance of the community throughout the book. So to begin with, it sort of it tells a bit of my story for kind of context, and then it goes into kind of the fundamentals of freelancing, the strengths you need and the things that will help you on the way, things like productivity, focus, motivation, the kind of skills. And then it goes into what I consider to be the 8 myths of freelance life, and it busts those myths. So I wanted to build in the voice of freelancers throughout the book, and I've got quotes and advice and mini case studies literally woven throughout the book. So at the end of every myth, there's quotes from freelancers in all sorts of different fields, all sorts of different levels of experience, and that's why it's so important. I think I didn't have it.
Yeah. And I think, like, one of the things I've noticed, and I certainly found myself, was that in joining those communities and those freelance communities, you kind of have to unlearn that attitude of, if somebody else is doing the same thing as me, they are competition.
Yeah.
Because like you say, like, it's about the individual person, and a lot of the time people will choose to work with you just because of who you are. It's not about your prices or what you offer or testimonials or whatever else. It's literally,
isn't it?
Yeah, they like you as a person. You click, kind of like dating, you know. You meet
so much like dating. Yeah, you get ghosted.
Hopefully you don't get paid for dating, but that's okay. And it is so, I found it quite difficult to kind of unlearn that.
Yeah.
And I think other people do too, because it is sort of, on social media, when you're promoting yourself, there is that element of, I need to appear different from a quote competition.
Yeah.
I need to explain and make it clear why people would want to work with me over that person. And even though that might be a lot about how you personally do it and your personal experiences with it and that kind of thing, there is still that I need to stand out. Versus when you join those actual groups to support other freelancers and to get support yourself, you have to kind of let that go and just be like, yeah, look, we're all just trying to figure it out. We're all in the same sort of mess.
That's so true. But I still think there's still a part of me that thinks when you're in those groups, the idea is to get remembered, isn't it? And you stand out by being you. And I think certainly when I started as a freelancer, as I say, I was a 20-something-year-old woman. I didn't know. I mean, I'd worked for 9 years when I first got started because I didn't go to university, didn't want to. And I tell that story at the start of the book. But I had business experience, and I think I thought, oh God, I've got to be like this business person. And just naturally, I mean, I can be organized and I'm like crazy driven to the point of being obsessive. But I still don't consider myself to be, I mean, I'm a business person. I'm running a business. My business is now a limited company. I'm VAT registered, blah, blah, blah. But it's all about being true to who you are, because I, for the first 10 years or whatever, would literally mask any traits of myself. And believe me, I've got a lot of them, a lot of my quirks and a lot of my things that I thought that's not acceptable in business. You know, I'm very direct sometimes. And I've now just embraced them, and I've embraced them in kind of recent years. And I found that I've had much better relationships with clients because I'm being completely myself. And they might kind of go, oh yeah, you know, she can be a bit quirky sometimes, but actually I think that's part of why they enjoy working with me. So yeah, I think, as you say, it is perhaps a little bit of unlearning that, because you're not trying to stand out and kind of go, oh, hey, pick me. But at the same time, there needs to be something about you that makes you memorable. And if you are being authentically you, I think that's how you do it. Yeah.
And I think then you're remembered by the right people as well, because you stand out to people who really want to work with you because of how you do it, which is really important.
Yeah.
And this is another thing I think a lot of people struggle with, is this, and certainly is something that I come up against with clients when I'm talking to them about their social media posts, is that I have to be everything to everybody. I can help everybody. I can provide something to everybody. And it is really difficult to explain. Like, you need to be specific. Like, you can't help everybody, and that's okay.
Yeah, true. So true. I talk a lot about the sort of community over competition thing, as you know, the hashtag on Instagram. I think it's so important, because certainly to begin with, for starters, I didn't do any networking for the first 10 years of my business. God knows how I managed to kind of get so many clients. It was all word of mouth. I got lucky early on, and then got lots of word of mouth kind of referrals. But to begin with, I didn't do any networking. And when I did start, if I went into the room and someone went, oh, there's another copywriter here, she's over there, I'd be thinking, oh, I want to avoid that person. You know, she might kind of get ideas from me and steal my ideas or whatever, which is a really uncharitable way of looking at it, but it's kind of traditional, isn't it? We think of people who do the same job as us as the competition, and to actually act with a little bit of caution around them. But actually, I have a WhatsApp group with 6 or 7 other copywriters, and we are the biggest cheerleaders for one another. We started off the WhatsApp group at the start of COVID, and we have a weekly call as well. And when we get work that we don't think is the right fit with us, we'll share it among the group. We're talking about collaborating on a big project at the moment, and we support one another through thick and thin, like personal and professional issues. And actually, without that support, those are the people who understand what you're going through more than anyone else, because they face the same challenges as you do on the regular. You know, they literally, they understand better than anybody. So if you're shying away from those connections, you're missing out.
Yeah, you really are. And in a way, because I do find like the general freelance groups are really useful, and I do think there is a lot of value in joining them. But I also think that it is so incredibly important to have a community of people who are doing something that is basically the same as what you're doing, for that exact reason. They know what the specific struggles of that line of work is.
Yeah, so true.
And like for me, marketing Twitter has just, especially over this past couple of years, has just been amazing because of the community of people just being like, oh my God, this client wants me to do this. This is ludicrous. How am I supposed to explain this very basic thing that everybody in marketing understands to them? Because people, they get it. They're all dealing with the same stuff.
Yeah.
They're all having the same clients ask the same questions and the same stuff coming up. And it is so useful to have that, to not just to vent to, but also to be inspired by and to see like how other people are dealing with it. Because people deal with things in different ways, and it is really helpful to have that variety of like, oh, I've tried speaking to my client in this way and it didn't get through to them, but somebody else might have a totally different way of phrasing it that really just clicks with that person, and you can use that and be like, oh yes, now they get it.
Does marketing Twitter have a Twitter hour?
I don't think so. It's just a
you just use it as a hashtag when you're tweeting. Yeah.
There are some marketing Twitter chats as well, but yeah, marketing Twitter is just like a hashtag that everybody vents on. It's brilliant.
Amazing. I wondered if it was like Content Club UK and being Freelance Heroes Hour and that kind of thing, and it just had a certain time of day that people chatted. But no, interesting.
No, it is. It's really, and I think it's, especially because it's kind of a global hashtag.
Yeah.
I do think Twitter chats are great. Love a Twitter chat, but it can be really difficult, especially if you're trying to catch a global audience. Yeah, because you can't choose a time that is suitable for everybody. It's literally impossible.
That's so true.
Yeah. Speaking of Twitter chats, are there any that you really enjoy?
Yeah, there are. I love Content Club UK. I love freelance. Is it Freelance Chat? The one that's 5 o'clock on a. Can't remember. I can't remember the time because I haven't been for so damn long that it almost gets to the stage where you're almost ashamed to go, oh, I haven't seen you all for a while. But I love those chats. Also, I've been to the Freelance Heroes one a few times, but that's on in the evening. And because I'm single parent and I get half my time with my son, my daughter's already left home, my son's now 18, like my time in my evenings is really precious. So 8 o'clock in a midweek is quite difficult for me to go to. But when I do muck into the chats, I find them all brilliant. It's the answers to the questions are so thought-provoking. I've done like the hosting for Freelance Chat, Content Club UK and Freelance Heroes, and also one for the ITI, the Institute of Translation and Interpreting. And I just find it's just full on frantic, honestly, because I try to like all the comments. I tried to respond to so much. I tried to retweet so much. Got to the end of one of them and it was like, you've been banned for literally, I didn't even know this was a thing. I wasn't allowed to comment on anything for like 24 hours afterwards. Didn't know that was even a thing. That was a while ago. Hasn't happened since. How about you?
I don't, I tend to go to more Twitter chats on my personal Twitter than on my work Twitter.
Oh,
and I'm not sure
that you have
a lot of it is because they tend to be, I think because they tend to be during work hours.
Yeah.
And I try unsuccessfully a lot of the time, but I try to work within set hours and then be not on my work accounts for the rest of the time. So it feels difficult for me to sort of fit in a Twitter chat a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm on work time. I need to be doing this client work. I've got to get through this to-do list stuff kind of thing. And then outside of my sort of work time, I try to avoid using work socials because I have a little bit of workaholism in me. I do.
Yep. You and me both.
So if I'm the kind of person who, if I hop on to a Twitter chat in an evening to discuss marketing with people or something, I will end up doing some work afterwards. I'll be like, oh, I'm so inspired. I'm going to do some client work. Like this.
You have an addictive personality by any chance?
Yes, I do. Yes.
So don't you think though that it's to do with I think in a lot of cases creative people find this particularly because we love what we do, and for us in some ways it's easy, so that kind of sparks one problem, which is people not knowing what to charge because they're kind of like, well, how come I'm getting paid such good money for doing this thing that is just second nature to me? But also it does mean that we get on a roll and we're following the creative energy and then we don't want to stop. So it's not always this kind of overwhelm and stress that leads to overwhelm that leads to burnout. That's not necessarily caused by our clients driving us into the ground. It's quite often driving ourselves. Can you relate to that?
Yes, that is definitely my experience.
Yeah, mine too.
100%. Yeah, I am because I am, and I do put a lot of pressure on myself as well.
Oh yeah.
But I am that person who, and I have to try really hard to, even if I'm watching TV or something in the evening, to not just open up a content calendar and be like, oh, here's an idea. Because I am just terrible for it. I really am. I've had to implement, I've started using Notion recently.
Okay.
Well, actually not that recently now, like 6 months or so ago. And my entire life is in it. So now if I have an idea, I put it in my to-do list. I'm just like, client name, this is the idea. And then it's there for when I come back to it the next day or whatever.
Yeah, good for you.
It is, but it is so important to sort of implement things like that. Certainly for me, it has been really difficult because I found, especially the first couple of years that I was freelance, I just worked 24/7 basically. I worked weekends. I would be like, I would shut the computer down, like the desktop, and be like, right, I'll go and have dinner and then I'll relax. And I'd come up after dinner and be like, okay, I'm going to put some YouTube on, put some Netflix on, whatever. And then I just sit there and work while I was watching it.
Don't you find that phrase, I'm just, like really insidious? Is that the right word? I don't know, mental block for a second. But I find that I just kind of, I'm always saying it to my partner, like he doesn't live with me, but he's with me like quite a bit of the time. And when we're together in the evenings, I'll just kind of go, oh, I just wanted to copy this review into a social post. And I'll go, I'm just doing this. I'm just doing this. And it's just like, it kind of just escalates and means that I end up spending, I have real impulse control issues with Instagram and social. I think I'll leave my phone, I'll leave it on the side and we'll go off, like sit down and watch a film or something, like 10 minutes later I'm picking it up and checking it again. It's not good. I have to really have a stern word with myself.
Yes, yeah, those I'm just tasks always add up as well, because you do tend to find, I certainly do, that like there is just this, literally it's going to take me 5 minutes, and it will, but it will then lead on to something else. And then it's just this constant cycle of, oh, well, I've done that, so I'll just do this other thing, and I'll just finish that thing, and I'll just get that prepared. And 3 hours later, you've been working and you're just like, this was supposed to be rest time.
Yeah. Oh, we sound very similar.
And I do think with sort of creatives, like you're saying, like that is what leads to burnout. It is that also because you enjoy it, and that like, well, I enjoy it, so it's okay to do it in my downtime. I don't need rest time away from work because I enjoy my work. And it's like, yes, but also no, you do actually need a break, it turns out.
Ironically, that's the reason that I said I would never write a book, because I mean, I used to have people say to me, oh, you need to write, like Andy Maslin, brilliant author, said to me once, you should write a book about copywriting. There's a real shortage of books by female copywriters out there. And I was like, no, I'll never write a book because I write for a living. So I spend all my days writing. Why would I want to spend my spare time doing the same thing? Because I'm already obsessed enough about it. And then when I got the idea of doing the book, it was like January 2020, and it was published, the paperback. It actually launched on National Freelancers Day last year, the 18th of June. So January to June, and it only kind of took me 2 months to write it, because the only way I know, because of my very neurodiverse brain, the only way I know is to just completely hyper focus on the task, and to the exclusion of everything else, relationships, you name it, time off. So ironically, the book is subtitled Tried and Tested Tips to Help You Ace Self-Employment Without Burnout. How I didn't end up burning out after living on adrenaline for that many months is just beyond me.
That is very impressive. Do you have any tips then for people writing? Because I feel like a lot of people are heading towards like book writing as their one of their sort of passive income streams. So do you have any sort of tips or advice?
Yeah, don't think you're going to make a load of money out of it. You really do not. People keep saying to me, yeah, but since I published the book, I just thought I'd write the book, publish the book, and then go back to the day job. So I'd be full-time copywriting again. And that just hasn't happened. So since last June, I've done over 50 live events, including Q&As, webinars, workshops, for professional bodies, for Enterprise Nation, for university students. I've also done close to or slightly over 50 podcast interviews. None of the podcast interviews pay, of course. It's just kind of another opportunity to spread the word about the kind of the message of how important it is for self-employed people to take responsibility for their own mental health and well-being, because we don't have like someone in our team who's kind of representing for us, who we can go to when we're having a bad kind of mental health day, or you're really struggling with anything. We have to do that for ourselves. So all this stuff that I've had a chance to do is all helping me to spread the word, and that's great. But it is also tricky to get the balance right between juggling the paid work and the free stuff. And actually, you know, in terms of sales, you really don't make a lot of money at all. So to give an idea, the cover price for this is $14.95. I think I make $6.26 a copy, and then you have to pay tax on it. So yeah, but if you one tip that somebody gave me early doors was get your cover designed really early on, because it helps you keep focused. So I sort of printed it off and I had it in front of me so I could always see it in the corner of my eye, and it helped to keep me motivated because it makes it feel real. And when I started, I didn't know the first thing. I obviously knew how to write because I've been doing it for nearly 30 years, but I didn't know anything about the self-publishing process. So ISBNs and barcodes and Nielsen and KDP and ACX and so I picked maybe half a dozen people I knew who had gone through the process. And I said, look, can I pick your brains in exchange for, if you need copywriting advice for an hour, I'm more than happy to help. And the advice that those people gave me was absolutely invaluable. I couldn't have done it without that kind of initial, these are the things that I would keep in mind and whatever. So yeah, talk to the people who've been there and done that, and really be prepared for, well, in all honesty, it's more of a learning vertical than a learning curve. I started off with a lever arch file. I'm not a lever arch file since I was employed. But I got a lever arch file and I just kept reading things and snipping things and printing things out. And I ended up with a file about this thick within 6 weeks of starting to do my research of all the things I wanted to include, and it all coming together. And it's challenging. But if you've got this, it's just like anything with your business, isn't it? You need to know your purpose. Why are you doing it? Who do you want to help? What's kind of your I guess your elevator pitch for the book. What's the reason why you're writing it? And if you keep that in mind, you won't go far wrong.
Yeah. Did you find that having the cover there helped you to keep that sort of reason and that why at the front of your mind?
It did. As I say, I kind of became obsessed with it. So I very much felt like I had the energy behind me. So when I got the idea, I got very quickly from the idea to actually starting to write it and structure it and whatever, and pull together my little team of cheerleaders who were going to test read it and this sort of thing. And I found that I just went with the energy, which is, I'm good in life if I go with the energy. I'm either like 100%, like 100 miles an hour, or I'm like parked up on bricks on the driveway. There's no middle ground with me. So if I stick with going with the energy, then I'm usually pretty good.
That's good, because I do think, and a lot of it is going to come down to sort of book writing, is knowing how your own brain works, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is so difficult, because I know quite a few people who are trying to write books at the minute, or they're in the process of writing books and they want to self-publish and stuff, and they're all so different about it.
Oh, okay.
You know, some of them are like you and they're like, all right, I'm just going to power through it. I'm just going to I've got the inspiration, I've got the motivation, I'm going to do it all right now. And some of them are more like, I'm going to write one chapter at a time, and I have a plan for it, and it's all organized. I'm just going to take it steady. And then other people are just sort of very ad hoc, and like, I've written a lot over the past 3 days, and then I've not written anything for 3 months.
Yeah.
And it's so fascinating to see like how different people sort of manage it and do it. And I think it comes across as well in the text, because I do think, and I think that's a good thing, because I do think we need like a variety of books out there from different perspectives. And like you say, there's not a lot of books from female copywriters. It makes a difference to have not just those different viewpoints, but to have those different experiences of writing the book as well.
That's true. Yeah. And I think they're all equally valid. I think it's a question, as you say, it's knowing your own mind, and it's knowing what works for you. And the same goes for when you are self-employed. It is kind of tuning into what you need to get through the day and be your most productive and your best self. But you know, it's that kind of, if you know, for me, like I start my day 3 times a week. I start my day with a swim, and those days where I've got up early and I've gone for a swim and I've done my exercise, I walk up my gym, I have a swim, and then I walk home, and then just crack on for the rest of the day. And those days I'm super productive and focused and organized, and I feel like I'm on it, because I know that helps me. So yeah, that might mean that I'm starting work half an hour later, but those are still my best, most productive days. And it's the same with, you know, if you know that actually you need to take a break at lunchtime because you get a major energy slump, you need to go out and take the dog for a walk, or get out on your bike, or whatever it is for you. When you listen to those things and you tune into them, and you actually design your day or build your week around those strengths and those things that are important to you, that's when you can do your best work. But you going back to the ways of writing a book, I know a lot of people who are like, I'm going to write 500 words a day. Whereas to me, that's kind of, I'd start writing the 500 words and then I'd be like, I'm not going to stop just because I've got to 500. I have to keep smashing on because I'm in the zone. And I'll write for hours and hours and forget to take a break. This is why so much of the stuff I talk about in the book is about, as much of it as anything is reminding myself. Like, I have to sometimes read my own chapter, particularly the one about imposter syndrome. I had to run a panel about imposter syndrome, and I was having imposter syndrome about running a panel about imposter syndrome. Go figure.
That is so common, though. I do think imposter syndrome is one of the things that comes up all the time with literally everybody. People I know personally, people I know through my membership, people like in my own life. It's just everywhere. It really is rampant. And I think it's so ironic that we're all sat about thinking that everybody else is going to find out that we're a fraud, while everybody else is busy thinking that we're going to find out that they're a fraud.
It's excellent. It's actually really reassuring though, don't you think, when you realize that everybody is feeling the same and everybody's got the same sort of human I can't think of the word, fragility or whatever. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, it's true. I think we do forget that everybody else is human as well, and everybody else is in their own head going, oh my god, everybody's gonna find this out about me. Oh no, everybody's gonna think this. They're gonna see that I'm disorganized. They're gonna see that I'm this, that, and the other. But like, everybody else is in their own head thinking the same thing. Nobody is paying attention.
Exactly. And I think actually there's a lot to be said for what I was talking about earlier on, about kind of just being you, like quirks and all, because the more you are genuinely completely you, the less you're going to feel that, oh my god, I'm going to get found out, because you're already being all the you that you can be. So yeah, it's quite a good coping mechanism for imposter syndrome, I think.
Yeah, that's a good tip. I do think as well, having those communities and speaking to other people who are freelance as well, who are inevitably in the same situation and feeling the same way, is helpful. Yeah. Because I do think when you sort of hop into a group or a Twitter chat or wherever, and you see somebody else as like, I'm supposed to be giving a talk on imposter syndrome, and I have imposter syndrome about it. You see not just that post where you're like, oh, it's not just me, but all the comments of other people who are like, yeah, I have no advice, but yes, I know what you mean. And I think that makes a massive difference, just to feel like you're not alone, and it's not just you that feels that way. It's actually just a common experience.
There's so much power in that. There's so much power in kind of creating that normality, because it actually, if you were working in an office and you had the kind of the self-doubt and the wobbles and the fear of failure because you've been asked to do a presentation, for example, you just chat with your colleagues at the coffee point and you'd go, oh my god, I got to do this thing and I'm absolutely bricking it, you know, I don't know, I've never done anything like this before, and your colleagues would just go, oh yeah, geez, I had to do something just like that last month, but it went really well, and this is, you know, you'll be fine, you've got this. And then you'd kind of go, oh, okay. You would just, I think you just remember that everybody feels like that. But when we're on our own and we're not talking, particularly if we don't feel we have that community and we don't feel that we've got that support around us, then you are more likely to feel, God, I'm the only person dealing with this and therefore I must be abnormal. And of course we're not.
Yeah. And I do think it is so easy to just get wrapped up in your own head as well, if you're not joining in with communities and you don't have that external support to voice that to hear it back as well, to hear yourself saying these things. Because I do think as well that can be really helpful, to just voice something and then you hear yourself say it and you think, that just makes no sense at all. What? That's silly.
I am very much a talk to think person. So sometimes something will be out of my mouth and I'll go, shit, do I think that? Okay. Now that makes sense. So yeah, I think particularly if you're a talk to think person rather than a think to talk. Oh, something you just said really triggered something and I was anyway, forgotten. It'll come back.
Actually, on the sort of think to talk thing, I used to think that I was the other way. I would think rather than talk. Yeah. And now I realize that actually I am very much, I think better when I talk.
Yeah.
So I send my friends so many voice notes now. Well, literally, I just start with, I'm just trying to figure out what I think about this. And then I just ramble about like wherever my brain goes. By the end of it, I'm like, right, okay, this is what I think and this is how I want to deal with it.
I am all over voice notes. Honestly, I'll get an inquiry through Twitter and then I'll find the person on LinkedIn so I can convert the conversation from Twitter to LinkedIn so I can do it all in voice notes, because Twitter, as per, is late getting, joining the bandwagon with the voice notes. But yeah, the quicker it can do that, the better. But I just think they're amazing. Just a game changer, totally. Oh, that thing. Yeah, I know. What I was going to say was, I think quite often when you're feeling those wobbly feelings, I think that's actually the time that you should avoid social media quite often, because I think social tends to amplify what you're thinking. So if you're having a really great day where you're feeling confident, you're feeling invincible, you're smashing all your deadlines, you're thinking, yeah, okay, I've got this, then yeah, great, go onto social and do your interacting and do your social thing. But don't go on there when you're thinking, oh God, I'm having a really crap day. I really feel down on myself. The negative self-talk's kicked in. I'm just not feeling good about this, or I messed this up or whatever. Then I think actually that's the time to stay the hell off social, because however you're feeling, when you go on there, if you're having those down days and you're looking at what other people are doing, all that does is it just serves to kind of amplify those bad, negative, draggy feelings. And you kind of feel worse about yourself than before, because that's when you do compare yourself to other people and go, oh God, that person seems outwardly to be doing the same job as me, but obviously they're doing it much better than I am. Whereas when you're feeling confident, chances are you might even think, oh, I'll just drop them a DM and leave them a voice note and see how they're getting on. And then you remember that they're human as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that it's really easy to, if you're having one of those days where like everything is going wrong and your negative self-talk is really like on full volume, and you pop on social media and start scrolling and you see posts that usually you would be celebrating with people, that you would be like, yes, you're amazing, you did this, I'm so proud of you. But because where your brain's at, that comparison kicks in and you're like, oh no, they've succeeded at this, I'll never succeed ever. And it almost gives you permission to keep beating yourself up. So I do think it is important to have to be able to give yourself a break in those moments, and not sort of go on social media to try and get that validation and to be cheered up by social media. I mean, that said, I do think it is important to have some group somewhere where you can go and say, like, I am having a really bad day. This has gone, that's gone wrong. And that people will just go, that's really rubbish. I'm sorry. What can we do to help? Because at the same time as like, it isn't great to just hop on social media and start comparing. I do think that sort of keeping it to yourself and isolating yourself can make it worse as well. So you need to have that balance of like, these are the people I go to on my rough days when I need X, Y, and Z. But if I'm having a good day and I'm feeling fine, I can scroll social media and celebrate with everybody else, and that's great too. I find Instagram's really good for that. I've to begin with, I would always kind of put the posts out there, like many other people do, the kind of edited highlights and the kind of, oh yeah, I've had a really good day today, I've had a bit of a success, I'm going to share my win. Whereas actually last week I posted a reel of some lavender fields, which were absolutely no relevance to work whatsoever. And I just said, I've had a really, I'm really struggling at the moment. I'd had 2 really bad mental health days and was really finding everything difficult. Felt like I had nothing to say, nothing to contribute. So I was just kind of like, I'm going to just put this out here. And actually, in response to that, the number of positive comments and supportive comments, whereas if I'd held that in, nobody would have known, and therefore they can't say the supportive things. So actually, I think by doing that and kind of making it almost, you're giving other people permission to say, yeah, this isn't so great. It's not all unicorns and rainbows, is it? Like we have these challenges and we get through them together. So super important to be, again, it comes down to that being authentically you, I suppose, good and bad. Yeah, I was just going to say that actually. That kind of brings us full circle to just being yourself, because it is, and a lot of people feel that they can't put the bad stuff out, quote, bad stuff, the difficult stuff out there. And the other thing I find is that if people have had a period of time where they're like, they haven't posted anything because they've been feeling rough or whatever, that then in itself creates this block where they're like, oh, I've not posted anything. Now I have to come up with some incredible comeback post that then delays your comeback post, because there is no perfect comeback post. Whereas if you allow yourself to post the irrelevant, I'm just having a really shit time at the minute, post, it stops that because you've already put something out there. People know you've not got that created this sort of big comeback post thing that you've got to create. You know, it's just quote normal. And it allows people to connect with you on that more human, personal level.
Yeah. Yeah, I mentioned that in the book. I discovered while I was researching and writing it that it's called a vulnerability loop. I didn't know that was a thing. But if you're having a conversation with someone and you say, oh, yeah, you know, I really struggle with this sometimes, that's actually giving them permission to share something quite personal in response. And that's actually how you build trust and connection in relationships. And you'll notice a lot of people who are really good at doing that. And like, as I say, to begin with, I would always hide those things, and I'd never dream of talking about anything like my mental health or anxiety or anything like that. And it's not just in the past couple of years. I'd say maybe in the past 5 years, I've got much better at talking about it. And it's amazing, actually, the number of people who kind of go, oh, yeah, God, yeah, me too. Thanks for sharing. That makes it, it's again, it kind of comes back to that, normalizing it almost. And yeah, I just think it's helpful to be genuinely you. And if you can share things that you think other people won't necessarily get, you might be surprised how many people do.
Yeah, that is so true, because there are so many people who we assume that everybody else has got it together. And then when you put up a post that is like, I'm struggling, and those people who you're like, oh, but they've got it together, or in your comments going, God, you know, I've really been feeling this past week. I have just not. This is going wrong in this, and I'm dealing with this. And you suddenly like, these people are human too. They are actually have stuff going on as well.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It's just such a nice way to kind of strengthen a relationship, because you know, business is all about relationships. There's nothing else. All relationships.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Well, it's been really lovely chatting to you. If people would like to build a relationship with you on social media, where can they find you?
I'm probably most active on LinkedIn and Instagram. So I am the Copywriter's Day on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn. I think you're going to share the links to.
I will put all the links in the show notes as well.
Perfect. And if anybody wants any more information about kind of what I do as a copywriter, or about survival skills for freelancers, best way to find that is to go to survivalskillsforfreelancers.com. That has a link to the book in Kindle, paperback, and Audible for audiobook format. Get there in the end. And it also links to my copywriting website. It has my social media links, and it links to email as well. So that's probably the easiest, survivalskillsforfreelancers.com.
Very good. Thank you very much for being here.
If you want more regular reminders to find your own way to use social media, follow Alexis on your social platform of choice. All the links will be in the show notes. Until next time, be a human.